this video we're going to have a look at how a quite advanced 3D modelling software works and how to use it to create a cube, which is a brilliant way to practice and to learn how this software works so we can become familiar with lots of its different parts. So the first thing you'll need to do is open up Solidworks. Now as it loads in, it can take just a few seconds. It's just as it loads in all the extra add-ins. Now you'll open up and you'll get to this screen. Now you want to click on the one that says part. So we're going to create a part. Now there are a few key features to have a look at when we are using SolidWorks. The first thing we want to have a look at is on the left side here you can see what is referred to as the history tree. Now this is where anything that you add to your design or your drawings, it will all appear here. The other thing to notice is that SolidWorks uses planes, so it uses all these different planes to draw on. So to get started you need to select a plane that is suitable for your drawing. Now we're going to select the top plane. Now just click on the top plane and go to sketch. Now when I push sketch, it rotates the plane so that I am looking straight down at it, so I can draw on that very easily. Now because we know that our dice are going to be a cube shape, the very first thing we want to do is use this corner rectangle tool, which is under sketch and then corner rectangle, and we're just going to draw a basic shape on there for now. Now at the moment it might look fairly accurate, but we want to use the smart dimension tool. Now if we click on this line you can see that it changes colour, so it goes like an orangey colour. Now that means that that is the line that we're going to get the dimension of. So if I click that once with the left mouse button and then drag it off and click once again, I end up with the measurement. So I can see that that is 55.11 millimeters, okay, or 55.11. Now that allows me to see exactly how long that line is. You also get this box that turns up saying modify. This allows you to change the shape of that line by just typing in the box. So I'm just going to type 50 and then press enter, and it changes the dimension of that one line to 50. I'm going to do the exact same with this line, so when it goes orange, click it off, and you can see that it's really important that I have done that, because that line might have looked a similar length but it's actually a different size. So I'm going to change this one to 50 as well and then press the enter key again. Now at the moment that shape is not 3D, it's just a 2D version of what we want to create. Now I'm going to go up to the right side of the screen to the button that says exit sketch. Okay, so this one up here is for exiting the sketch. You get a lot more options once you've exited a sketch, so it's really important that you remember to exit your sketches each time. Quite often when you look at the top up here you'll notice that lots of buttons are greyed out if you are still within a sketch. So I want to select my sketch, which is here, so you can see that that sketch has actually been added to our history tree there. Now if I click on that and double click it, I can rename it. You can also right click and you should be able to rename your sketch. Now there is a reason that we want to rename a sketch, and that is that you can adjust that sketch. So what you want to do is you want to come up to sketch. If you click on it and then press F2 on your keyboard, it then allows you to change the name of that sketch. So I'm going to call this base shape. Okay, so that is the base shape sketch. It's really useful to rename these parts because as we go through and you end up with very long trees, you want to be able to modify and edit them individually to change the shapes of things. So we've got the sketch. Now if we go up to the top here and we click on the features and we go to extruded boss base and just click that, it's going to come up here saying that we need to select a plane or cross section, okay, or an existing sketch. So if we push the drop down here, we can see that our sketch is here. Now this is again why it's useful to name it, because I know that that's the sketch I want. Now to rotate the camera, just hold down the middle mouse button and just drag to see it from a different angle. You can also scroll the mouse wheel and it will allow you to zoom in and out. Another very useful tip is if you press the space bar, you get a view of your shape, and you can click on these different shapes to change the view, and it will take you to that angle. So if you're not quite sure what direction you want to look in, you can always press the space bar and it allows you to rotate to different views. Now, because we want this to be a cube, we want it to be completely even. So our sides at the moment are 50 by 50, so we also want the height to be 50. So we can actually manually type 50, or you can click and drag this to move it up and down. So if you select the grey arrow, you can actually click and drag up, so you can see that the numbers appear on there and going up. Now, really accurate, just push 50, and then we just click on the green tick. There's one green tick here, or there is also a green tick on this side. It doesn't matter which one you click, it still gives you the shape. So that is our basic cube shape at the moment. Now we want to have a look at how to add our dots onto our cube to make it really accurate and to give it a good shape. Now you might remember me saying that we had planes. Okay, so you've got front, top and right plane. But now we need to design using a surface. So on here, this shape will have 6 surfaces because it has a surface for each side. So any flat surface you can just click on and you can press sketch. So you just left click, let the option appear and then sketch. Now you might find it very helpful to press your space bar and just push the button that says normal 2. This then gives you the front on view that we used for when we drew the base of our shape, so the base of our cube when we started. Now I'm going to add the dot on here, and I want to add a single dot to represent 1 on a dice. Now to do that, I want that circle to be in the middle. To make sure I'm being really accurate, I'm going to use the line tool, and I'm going to use something that's called a line for construction. Now a line for construction is really useful because it allows you to draw lots of lines that you can then refer to make sure your shapes are in the right place. So up the top here, if I zoom in, you can see that these go orange to show the middle, and it kind of snaps to it. I can draw a line wherever I want, but I want the line to be nice and accurate. So to achieve that, I'm going to put my shape for this line right in the middle. And you can see it gives us a guideline to show us where the centre is again. Now it will draw again. If I want to cancel that, I just push escape. I can then draw for construction again, and we can go and add a line across the middle here. Now this gives us a centre point for us to add our circle. So we've got our first circle. We're going to decide on the size of these circles now. So if I click on that circle, you can see that it goes orange. So let's do that again. So let's click on that. I'm going to delete that by just pressing the delete button. Smart dimension. Click it. You can see that the shape goes orange. And this gives us the diameter of the shape, not the radius. This is the diameter. So this is the straight line through the middle of the circle. So from end to end, this is currently 11.45. Okay, so 11.45, I can click and then I can change that. So if I want to change it to 12, which is what we're going to do, just type 12 and hit enter. Now I've got my first shape so far. So I'm going to exit my sketch. So that's the first one. Now to get that to be extruded in, I'm just going to go to features. Now you might remember that we had features, and this time we're going to go to features and extrude cut. If you do extrude boss base, that always tries to add to your product, so it would actually extrude it outwards, where we want to take some material away. So we do extrude cut, and if you look at the moment, it's going all the way through my shape, which I don't want. I only want to take off maybe 1 millimeter, so I'm going to type 1 in here, or again, like you just saw, you can drag with that arrow. Okay, so I could just drag it through, so it does 1. If for some reason you have it where yours is coming out this side, so it's trying to remove material this way, you can flip it round and then type in the box here. So if it's going the wrong way, just push flip and it will flip it to go the inside, or drag the arrow going back through, and then it will take material away. So once I'm happy with that, just turn it to have a look again. Once I'm happy with that, just push my green tick either there or there, either doesn't matter, and then just remove it. So you can see that we have removed some of the material to represent our single dot. Now, on the opposite side, as you would find with a real dice, we're now going to do the 6. So on here, sketch, spacebar, normal 2. Now this time, I'm going to use my construction lines again, and I'm going to place them where I want those construction lines to be to keep my lines nice and neat, because you don't just want to draw the lines randomly. So I'm going to add a centre line, and I should have a line that is further away, so here. At the moment it doesn't matter what distance that is, because we're going to adjust that now. So smart dimension, click at the top of the line, so construction line, click at the top of the other construction line. You know you've got it selected because it will go orange, click, and then click and drag off. Now that gives us the dimension for the distance between those two shapes. So at the moment that is 12.566 etc. millimeters from that point. Now I'm going to make that, let's make it 12 millimeters away. Okay, so it's 12 millimeters away. Now I'm going to draw a circle on here. Now I want my circle again to be 12 millimeters, same as the others were. So we've used smart dimension again, 12 millimeters. I'm then going to add another circle underneath. Doesn't matter on the distance at the moment. 12 millimeters. And then one final circle down here. And let's make this 12 millimeters as well. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want our circles to be an even distance apart. So we can actually click in the middle of our circle and the middle of the other circle, and it will show us the distance they are apart from each other. So I can set this to 14, and I could set this one to 14 to keep them a distance apart. Now if I'm not happy with that distance, I can just double click on this dimension here and edit it. So I'm going to change it to 15. And this is the amazing thing about Solidworks, is that it allows you to modify things as you go. And that's the reason that it's so useful, is because you can move things around and change the shapes of things until you're happy with it without spending loads of money actually modelling this. So it allows us to do a 3D modelling to get it exactly how we want it without having to make physical models. Now I'm quite happy with the positioning of them. Now I want these 3 dots and these 3 circles and all these on this side now. So I'm going to show you how to mirror something. So to mirror, press the mirror entities. It says on here entities to mirror. So what bits do I want to mirror? Well, I'd like to mirror these. So those 3 dots. And what do I want to mirror about? Well, that's why we had this line in the middle. Just click that line. So I've got 3 of my circles selected and my mirror line. And you can see that it's give us a preview here of what it's going to look like. Press the green tick again. Green tick there or green tick here. Doesn't matter which one you click. We've got our shape. Now again, we want to exit the sketch. Now like we did with our previous ones, I want to go in here and I'm going to rename this so I know. Okay, so I'm going to call this sketch for 6. Okay, so sketch for 6. Now we've got things going on here that we don't really know what they are. Okay, so if I push the drop down, you can see that there are different parts within. So this is the sketch that refers to the cut extrude. So we're going to rename this one now as well. So if I change this to sketch for 1, I can then call this cut for 1. And that then means that I can see very clearly that if I want to change anything to do with the cut for 1, I'm going to edit this one. If I want to change anything for the 6, it's this one. So now we're going to do a nice extrude cut, same as we did before. So extrude cut, drop down, and we want to select sketch for 6. Now again, it's remembered that we've cut 1mm previously, so it's going to allow us to cut 1mm again. So we've got 6 and 1. So very quickly you can see that we have got our shape starting to form. Now let's choose another side. So let's start with this side. So we're going to move here. Let's put number, let's go number 4. Let's go 4 on this side. So again, I'll just show you that bit, just to remind us. So click the surface, click it once, you get this menu appear, click sketch, spacebar, normal 2. Nice easy steps for us to follow. Again, we're going to do our full construction. Now I'm going to have 4 circles on this one. So 4. Again, I push escape, line, full construction. Now you guys should be getting pretty good at following along with this now, because we've done this on our previous shapes. Now I'm going to put my circle on this line here. Now to make sure that I am doing this accurately, I'm going to draw this. I'm going to add my measurement, so they were 12 for each circle, and then I can choose where I want this to dimension from. So click there, and then I want it to dimension to the center point of this as well. So I can choose how far away it is from that point. So at the moment it is 23.15 etc. millimeters. So if I set this to something a little bit closer, because they're a little bit close to the edge there, so let's try 18 and see how that looks. Okay, so that's much closer now, so that's a bit easier for us to use. Now I'm going to show you 2 different ways that you can do this. One way, you can add your circles and add the dimensions manually yourself. So again, 12, dimension, click there, click the center, and you're going to do the same measurement. Okay, so you're going to do 18. And they should be in line with each other. Now the other way you can do this, okay, is if you mirror them again. So I'm going to delete that, so I just select it and press the delete key, and then just push yes, and it just deletes the shape for me. Now I can add some more construction lines. So if I add a construction line going through the center of my shape, like so, I also need a construction line that goes across the other center point. Now the reason we need both of these is because we're going to mirror twice. So the first mirror we're going to do is this shape across this line here, so it flips down here. Now we'll know it's right if this circle appears on this line in the correct position. If it doesn't, it means we've done something wrong somewhere. So again, mirror, entities to mirror, select the circle, and then choose what you want to mirror about. Click there, it's appeared on the circle, green tick, and it should be latched on there perfectly. We're also now going to do mirror entities, entities to mirror again, select the 2 entities, and choose the line you're going to mirror about. So we've mirrored this one to there, and then both these to that side. Green tick again, and then that gives us this mirror shape. Now you might be wondering, why would I mirror those shapes? Well, there's a very good reason to mirror. It means that if I change anything on this, it changes all of these for me. So if I want these to be closer, I could double click on where it says 18, and I could change that to, let's say, 16. And you'll notice that they all move at the same time. If I'd done it individually, you would have to manually change them all individually as well. That's why mirroring is very useful, because it allows you to modify one thing and changes everything at the same time for you. Now we've got our 4, and we're happy with them. Exit sketch. Rename this again, so click on the sketch, F2, and then we're going to say sketch for 4. Okay, so this is the sketch for the 4s. So let's extrude cut them. Extrude cut, drop down arrow, and then go to sketch for 4. Okay, again it's remembered, minus in 1mm, green tick, and so on. So let's do the opposite side. We're going to do the 2 on this opposite side now. So I'm going to select the surface, sketch, spacebar, normal 2. Let's add a construction line. I'm going to do mine so that they are going at an angle for this one. So I'm going to do just a construction line across the diagonal here. Then I'm going to draw my circle on the line, making sure I draw it on the line. If you don't draw it on the line, you can find that it will move off the line, because you get this symbol here in green, and that means that it's attached to the line. So that center point is attached to the line, so it won't move off that line. So if I try and move it now, it will stay on that line, even if I move my mouse over here. So it's really important that we keep things attached to the lines, because it means that you won't accidentally move something. Now let's go to our smart dimension. Smart dimension, let's change this. 12 is what we've been using before. So 12. And then I'm going to smart dimension this to this line. Okay. Now I'm going to do it from this edge here, so that I can do the same for the opposite side. So let's say we want it to be 18mm from the edge there. I could then draw another circle on here. I can then smart dimension this to make sure it's the right size. And I'm also going to smart dimension again middle of this to the edge. Okay. Now I'm going to pull it down so that I kind of keep it, because you need to keep these dimension lines so that they look similar to each other. Otherwise they take different measurements because they're going from different angles. So set this to 18. Now some of you people that have been watching this and have paid attention to some of the other things might have noticed there was one other thing we could have done there instead of doing it the way that I have done it, and I'm going to show you that way. So hopefully you're already ahead of me on this one. So click the circles, just press the delete key. Yes, I want to get rid of the measurements. Now we could add a construction line going across this way here. Now hopefully this is a little bit of a clue of what we're about to do. So line across there, and that points there, and we want something here. So you could again mirror, select the entities you want to mirror. You could then mirror it about this line here, so it flips it over for us, and green tick. So again we have mirrored it, so we've got our dimensions are the same. Our 12 for the size of the circle is the same, and we've got it in the exact same position again. So again, that's showing you how easy it is and important it is to add these mirrors. Okay, so we're going to exit our sketch and just close that for a second. It is a good idea to save your work every sort of few minutes. That was just a reminder that SketchUp shows us. It does show it every kind of 20 minutes or so, just to remind you to save your work. Now, let's call this sketch for 2. So sketch for 2. Okay, so we know what that is. And then extrude cut, drop down, sketch 2. And again, minusing 1. So we've got it from there. Okay, so we've got 2, 4. Now the only ones we have left is 3 and 5. Okay, so 3 and 5 are the last two. So I'm going to do 3 up here. That sketch on there. Spacebar, normal 2. Now I'm going to go slightly quicker with this one, just because we should be starting to get the idea of what we are doing with these and understanding how to draw them. So I've got my construction line. I'm going to put a circle in the middle of this shape. So to find the middle again, we can just use 2 construction lines. It's all fairly logical as you go through it, and you kind of become more confident with it as you're creating these shapes. So let's try changing that to 12. Okay, so lovely, 12. Let's do a circle on this line. Smart dimension, 12. Let's make this one a certain distance from this point here. So let's do smart dimension, distance, distance. Okay. So let's do this as 18, see how that looks. Okay, so we've got 18. And then, as we've done before, we're going to cheat a little bit, do a quick mirror about this line, and then we've got our next shape. Exit the sketch, F2, select, F2, sketch for 3. Okay, so we've got our 3 dots, extrude cut, drop down, sketch for 3, -1, and green tick. So very simply, very quickly, we have got our 3 dots. Our final one is going to be for 5. So spacebar, normal 2, and let's do our 5. So construction lines, construction across there, escape, construction along there. Just click that out, and let's do 12. Okay, so 12 millimeters there. I'm going to add my shape up here. Make this one 12. Smart dimension again. So click off, click on, middle of the shape, middle of this one, and choose the dimension you want. And let's put 18, see how that looks. Now you might notice that it's moved that one instead. You can just drag this back to there, just to get it on there. If for any of you that want to add this to be incredibly accurate, you can use a slightly more advanced way of doing it, which is the drop down, add relation, click that dot, you want to click the center of that, and you want to do coincident. So it connects it together, push the green tick. If you do it that way, it won't move again, and it will be the other point that moves instead. So if I show you by changing this one, so if I change this to 20, it will be now this one that moves instead of this circle, if that has happened for you. So that's how you correct that error if it does happen. Again, we've got that in position, so for construction, let's do our mirrors again. You guys are going to be experts in mirroring by the end of this, because there's lots of mirroring for this. It makes things a lot quicker as well, and very efficient if we wanted to change anything at all. Okay, so let's mirror, mirror, mirror about, mirror there, green tick, lovely. Mirror this one, bam, bam, and mirror this way, and green tick. Okay, so we've mirrored across that way, and we have our lovely shape. Exit that, and then we should have sketch for 5. Sketch for 5. Okay. Now, I have just noticed that I didn't actually name all of these, so let's go back through and name them just so that we don't get confused later. So we're going to call that one cut for 6. Always a good idea to name these. It's not the end of the world for us on this one, because we can kind of see all the shapes, because as you click them you'll notice that it highlights them, so I know that's obviously cut for 2. But when you create some really big designs and you want to change anything, it's a good idea just to have all these models labelled up, so all these features labelled up for each of your models, because sometimes you can end up with like 15 different parts for one project, so it's really, really important that you know to name them. Okay, so let's go back to where we were. So we were doing the 5s, just to recap us. So sketch for 5, let's do extrude cut, drop down, sketch for 5, and going through, lovely. Okay, so we then have the 5 there, and for our final bit here, cut for 5. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If for for whatever reason, you can choose to click and drag these into a different order. So say for example, if you wanted them to be in a different position, you can move them around. I could move 6 down to the bottom just by clicking and dragging it down. So you can actually move them into order of each other, and it just changes them slightly in the time order, but the process we followed, you can do that. Okay, so you can change them in order and it's not going to break your design. Some designs, like say for example, if I had to use the number 4s on here to help me draw the number 2s, you need to make sure that number 4 appears before number 2 in timeline, otherwise it doesn't know what it's referring to. Okay, but that's something that we'll cover in a later lesson. It's just something to be aware of. Now once we have that, you can do File and just Save As. File Save As then just allows you to save it. So I'm going to create a new folder, put it in Solidworks, and I'm just going to call it Solidworks Dice. Okay, so SolidWorks Dice. And that is the end of that very simple tutorial. I hope you find it helpful and useful, and I hope you are able to create your own successful cube now with these dice dots on them. Now you need to make sure that you've watched the video. You can obviously follow this video as you're going through step by step and just pause it at key points, or have a go at watching the video and then have a go at creating your own dice. But if you do get stuck, just have a look through the video again, because it might be something very simple that you've skipped a step or missed.